Imagine a couple deeply in love, walking hand in hand through the early years of marriage. Fast forward 20, 30, or even 40 years, and something seems to have changed. Many women, once devoted to their husbands, now feel a growing frustration, a distance, or even resentment. But why? Is it because of lost romance? A lack of attraction? The truth is far more practical than you might think. As women age, their roles, priorities, and expectations evolve. What once felt tolerable becomes unbearable. The caregiving, emotional labor, and unbalanced responsibilities in a marriage often take a toll. The very things they once overlooked now weigh heavily, and their patience runs thin. Let's explore why this happens and what can be done about it. Imagine a woman who has spent decades not only managing a home but also being the emotional glue that holds her family together. From remembering birthdays and anniversaries to ensuring everyone feels supported, she has carried a silent but overwhelming weight. This is what's known as emotional labor, the invisible work that keeps relationships functioning. Many husbands, even the most loving ones, don't always recognize the extent of this burden. They assume things just fall into place without realizing that their wives are the ones making it happen. Over the years, this imbalance builds frustration. What once felt like an act of love starts feeling like an expectation, and when appreciation fades, resentment takes its place. Women don't suddenly start disliking their husbands, they start recognizing how much effort they've put in without equal reciprocity. It's not about grand romantic gestures but about sharing responsibilities, truly listening, and acknowledging the unseen efforts that have kept the relationship strong. As women age, their perspective shifts. In their younger years, they are often focused on nurturing, whether it's raising children, supporting their husband's career, or managing a household. But as they get older, their priorities begin to change. They start valuing personal happiness, self-care, and independence more than ever before. The things they once overlooked, like picking up after their husband, handling every small household detail, or making endless compromises, suddenly feel exhausting rather than fulfilling. They begin to ask themselves, "What about me?" They no longer want to be defined solely by their roles as wives and mothers. If their husbands fail to recognize this shift and continue to expect the same level of self-sacrifice, frustration takes over. Women desire partnership, not dependency, and when that is not met, emotional distance becomes inevitable. In the early years of marriage, many women willingly compromise, believing that love means making sacrifices. They may let go of their own preferences, accommodate their husband's habits, or accept imbalances in the relationship simply to maintain harmony. But as time passes, these suppressed needs don't just disappear, they accumulate. What once seemed like small compromises start to feel like deep disappointments. Women begin to expect something in return for their years of dedication, yet many husbands continue to operate as if nothing has changed. The expectation of shared responsibility, emotional connection, and appreciation becomes more important than ever. When those expectations go unmet, resentment grows. It's not about demanding perfection, it's about wanting to feel valued. A woman who spent decades prioritizing her family's needs begins to wonder why her own needs are still being overlooked. If her husband fails to adapt and meet her where she is, she doesn't just feel let down, she starts emotionally checking out. Emotional and intellectual connection matter just as much as physical intimacy in a long-term relationship, yet many men assume that love is a one-time decision rather than an ongoing commitment. They get comfortable, believing that their presence alone is enough to sustain the marriage. But women crave more than just coexistence, they need engagement, meaningful conversations, and a sense of shared growth. Over time, if a husband stops investing in emotional intimacy, his wife may start feeling lonely even when he's right beside her. This disconnect isn't sudden, it builds up gradually. If a woman repeatedly finds herself unheard, unseen, or dismissed, she begins to withdraw. She longs for a deeper connection, and if she doesn't find it within her marriage, she may start questioning whether the bond they once had is even worth preserving. A woman spends years taking care of everyone around her, raising children, managing a household, supporting her husband, and often balancing a career. But as the years pass, the weight of caregiving grows even heavier. Children may leave the house, but new responsibilities arise. Aging parents require attention, and in many cases, the husband starts needing more support, whether it's managing health issues, organizing daily tasks, or simply keeping things running smoothly. This shift often feels one-sided. Women who have spent their entire lives giving suddenly find themselves expected to give even more, while their own needs are pushed further into the background. The exhaustion isn't just physical, it's emotional. What makes it worse is that many men don't realize the extent of this burden. They assume their wives will always take care of things, often failing to ask, "How can I help?" Over time, this unacknowledged exhaustion turns into resentment. A woman who once cared out of love now feels trapped in an endless cycle of responsibilities. Without support, without appreciation, and without a partner who steps up, that resentment deepens, making emotional distance inevitable. At some point, many women realize they want something more: freedom, independence, and a life that isn't dictated by constant obligations. As they age, they start prioritizing themselves in ways they never did before. They want to explore hobbies, travel, reconnect with friends, or simply enjoy peace without having to manage everything alone. But when their husbands resist this change, when they expect things to stay the same, or worse, when they become more dependent, it creates tension. Women don't want to be confined to the same caregiving role forever. They want a partner who evolves with them, who respects their newfound independence rather than holding them back. If that's not there, emotional withdrawal becomes a way of reclaiming the space they've long been denied.